pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the February 2nd meeting of the Town Board. So our first item of business tonight will be a quick meeting of the Depot Theater. Does anybody in the audience have a problem if we remove our masks up here? We're more than 6 feet away from everyone. It's okay? Is everybody comfortable with that? Because it's pretty hard to hear us and see what's going on. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Under the Philipstown Depot Theater's bylaws, at a special meeting of the members of the corporation, which is the town board, plus one member of the Recreation Commission, currently myself, and one appointee from the Philipstown Depot Theater Board of Directors, currently Steve Ives, may elect new members to the Board of Directors. The Philipstown Depot Theater Board has nominated the following individual: Catherine Caligaro, 92 Lower Station Road, Garrison, New York. And you're presiding.
Yes, so we'll call the meeting to order. Can I get a motion to call the meeting to order, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, can I get a nomination to?
I nominate Catherine Caligaro from Garrison.
Okay. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
She's nice and close to the theater.
And while we are on the discussion of the depot, yeah, and quite a resume also. Wonderful people we have stepping up for these boards. While we have the meeting called the order, I met with Stephen Ives about the Garrison Landing contract with the theater. I just got it back this evening from our attorney. It's good to go. We will do a resolution at our February 22nd board meeting to approve it, and then I can sign it. So if you want to
Not doing it to, oh, yeah, the lawyer hasn't looked at it.
Right, and we just got it this evening, so it's
So,
too late
yeah,
to put on the
okay,
agenda.
so it'll be-
Right,
it'll be
I mean,
coming.
it's fine.
We have a meeting on Saturday morning, and I will pass
Just
that.
let them know that, and I'll let Steve know via email, because we've been
Okay.
back and forth, but thank you. Okay, can,
Motion to adjourn.
second on the motion? All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye, thank you. Before we start the minutes and the meeting, we're going to go into executive session for a quick 5 or 10 minutes, probably not even that long. Can I get a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, let's go. We'll be right back. Come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is taken care of. Monthly meeting, January 5th, 2023. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Reorg meeting of January 5th, 2023. Motion to accept the minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Philipstown Depot Theater meeting of January 5th. Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Workshop of January 18th, 2023. Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Been a busy January.
Yes, we did. February's not going to get any easier, I don't think so.
Bite your tongue, John. Bite your tongue.
Okay, reports, committee reports. Conservation Board.
Conservation Board met on January 10th. A few cases. Garrison Station Plaza is seeking a permit for a minor excavation. Magazino is seeking a permit for signposts that were installed in a wetland buffer. Lot 3 Rockwald Road is developing a new single-family dwelling, and they're proposing a driveway. And 15 Kingsdock Road has been in front of the Conservation Board for a while, and the Conservation Board is now seeking guidance from the town attorney about their jurisdiction, given there seems to be steep slope disturbance. And so the next meeting of the Conservation Board is next Tuesday night here at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you so much, Jason. And Judy is absent this evening. She is with her daughter, I believe, at a college tour. So, Jason, you have the recreation report?
I do. Judy mailed it to me. Sorry, you all are going to hear a couple of reports. This is for Judy. This is from Cecily Hall, Interim Director of the Philipstown Recreation. Philipstown Rec held its own monthly board meeting this past Tuesday at the Rec Center. Cecily reported that all indoor programs are going strong. Youth basketball, soccer, lacrosse are all seeing strong attendance. In addition, after-school programming is launched, including cooking and Gaga pit classes each week. Gaga looks very fun. I don't understand the rules of it, but
And they're indoor. It's an indoor.
I think it is. I think it is indoor.
And the fact that it has its own hour in the gym is just like, okay, let's do this.
All right. Supervisor Van Tassel's on record. He's going pro for Gaga Pit, so that's good. The gym has also been rented out to various local community organizations for use, including Philipstown Little League, CYO, Cub Scouts, and Philipstown Soccer Club. Adult programs, including volleyball and men's basketball, are bringing in solid numbers each week. Additional adult programs, there's a new adult program for pickleball. So the rec is aiming to launch it in late February or early March. And then stepping away from sports, the spring theater production, Peter Pan Jr., is currently underway, and the next teen night has been scheduled for the end of February. Senior programs remain strong, with most fitness and art classes at full capacity. The next senior luncheon will be held this month on February 15th at the Rec Center gym at 12 p.m. Feel free to come and volunteer. Sounds like a lot going on.
Yeah, that place, if you go there, it is hopping. There's no doubt about it, which is wonderful, which is exactly what it's for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, the Philipstown Hub, you have that from Judy as well?
Yes, this is from Judy as well. The Hub reports that there's a series of senior community conversations going on Fridays at 10:15 to 11 a.m. at the Philipstown Friendship Center. The Hub reports we are excited to introduce our new free program for seniors, Senior Community Conversations. The program is designed to help seniors stay connected with their community and engage in meaningful conversations with others. Through this program, seniors will have the opportunity to attend weekly meetings to discuss topics that are important to them and get to know their neighbors. We also plan to host special events that focus on topics like aging, communication, health, and overall well-being. We believe this program will help seniors stay engaged in their community and lead more fulfilling lives. And again, that is going to be on Fridays from 10:15 to 11 a.m. at the Friendship Center. That is it.
All righty, thank you
Sorry,
so much.
Jason, I have one quick question. Did you happen to have a date for the teen night in February? You said late February, but
For which night?
for teen night, do we have a date?
Let me see.
I want to say it's the
I saw it on
24th, but
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah,
in late
what is
February,
it?
that's pretty vague.
It only says the next teen night has been scheduled for the end of February. So
I'm going to go with the 24th. That's the last Friday.
You can contact
All right.
Cecily, I'm sure she'll,
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
thank you.
It's the 25th, February 25th.
February 20.
Tara.
Okay, Planning Board.
Planning Board, I attended the planning board on January 19th, 7:30. First on the agenda, J.C. Architect and Design, 5 Juniper Road is asking for a 6-month extension on the site plan. That was approved. Old business, Hudson Highland Reserve, which are here tonight to discuss the road change grade from a 10 to a 12% grade. That was discussed briefly, but also they referred to the North Highlands Firehouse. We did receive an email from the planning board, Neil Zuckerman, the chair, and he indicated that they're in favor of changing the grade without a problem with that. So I'm sure we'll discuss this further on. It's on our agenda as well later on this evening. Gaines Lumber, 3622 Route 9, Cold Spring. They've been before the planning board the last several months. Not much really happened at the last meeting. The board declared it a Type 2 seeker action and was scheduling a public hearing for February the 16th for that application. There was 2 new applications and a new business, Stepping Stone 25 Lady Blue Devil Road, Cold Spring. This is a daycare center up there. They're expanding. They consider this a major project. The applicant is proposing expansion of the facility, daycare facility, an additional 1,820 square feet, detached building, relocating the existing playground and some additional parking spaces. This is the first time before the planning board. It classified as a major project to clear the matter as Type 2 seeker action, and they're going to do a site visit next Sunday, February 12th at 9:30. This was also referred to the Conservation Board, County Health, and North Highlands Firehouse. Last on the agenda was Coleswick in Thiffel, 168 South Mountain Pass, Garrison, New York. This is considered a minor project. There's an addition to a single-family dwelling. It's going to be with a total footprint greater than 3,000 square feet. They declared us a Type 2 seeker action as well, and they're having a site visit on February 12th at 10:30, and referred to the County Planning Conservation Board, and because there are some steep slopes involved, and also referred to the Garrison Firehouse. Meeting was adjourned at 9:10.
All right, thank you, Bob. Zoning.
The zoning board met on January 9th at 7:30. They approved the minutes from November. They didn't have a meeting in December. At the public hearing, you had John Valletto, 24 Hickory Ridge in Garrison. The applicant is seeking a variance to build a 2,520 square foot garage, which was approved with a vote for 3-2. And in new business, 15 Peacock Way in Garrison, New York. Applicant is seeking a variance to build a 2,124 square foot structure, which is a barn, so to speak. There will be a public hearing scheduled for Monday, February 13th. So if anybody is watching and you want to come out, Monday the 13th is when you want to come out to that public hearing. They have no old business, and the next meeting will be February 13th at 7:30 right here at the Town Hall.
All right.
Don't miss it.
Perfect. Thank you for that enthusiastic report on the zoning.
Today, guys, this is
I
good.
like it. Okay, highway.
Highway, submitted by Adam Hoteling, Superintendent of Highways. Work performed for Philipstown Highway Department month of January. We're getting very close to beginning the total move-in of our new building in office space right now. Though all the garage bays are being used, right now we're still not into the office space, but hopefully by the end of February, we're hoping that we can get in there. There's still a big punch list that the contractor's working on as well. Last time we knew, we were still waiting on some electrical components from the panel,
The
right?
Ukrainian-built panel.
Yeah, the panel came in, but there's some other components we're still waiting on. Due to the mild temperatures and all the rain, the crews have been out clearing pipes, waterways, fixing washouts, potholing, and spot grading. As far as the season, for the season has been very little snowfall. However, as winter gears up, we would like to remind all the residents not to push snow out onto the roads, on the public roads.
No snow.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Resolution passed by the town board last month to purchase a new truck, added to our fleet. It's also on this night's agenda. Since Hurricane Ida back in September 2021, we've been negotiating with FEMA in order to obtain monies to repair the culvert on East Mountain Road North and retaining walls and widening East Mountain Road South. The next step is a hydraulic HA study on 2 of these sites. The town board passed a resolution to begin these studies, and so the work can begin as soon as possible. 2 firms, Beatty and Watson and Putnam in each area, are prepared with their services to start that. Once again, we need to mention that dumping is against the law, punishable with the heavy fines. We had several calls this month to pick up items and hauled away, which takes time and money away from the highway budget unnecessarily. If residents see anyone dumping, please call the Sheriff Department at 845-225-4300. The Highway Department received approximately 20 phone calls and emails regarding conditions on the road in January, and the Highway paid approximately $9,000 for vehicle maintenance for the month of January. Submitted again, Adam Hoteling, Highway Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob, and thank you to Adam. I have to mention with the ongoing work at the well site for the Garrison Landing down in 9403 site, the Osborne property, the Highway Department has been so helpful to us with the excavation and the installing of the road, the temporary road. So I just like to thank them publicly that they're really a pleasure to work with, the highway
Yeah,
crew.
definitely
It's
is.
whatever we need that's reasonable, they get out there and they get it done. So thank you to Adam and crew.
Yep, I was down there yesterday. There was still some pretty bad muddy spots down there. Luckily, I had four-wheel drive.
Today, and they got the
Yeah,
truck out, so that's the key.
Yep.
All righty, thank you. Building and land, I have nothing, Bobby.
I don't know if you want to talk about, well, we just brought up the Garrison Landing. You want to discuss that here?
We'll get to that in
Okay.
open business. Cemetery committee.
There was some correspondence in early January with the cemetery's facility gentleman, and we look to get a layout of the cemetery that's on 301 and Route 9. I think, I don't want to say when the weather breaks because it's been nice, but hopefully in March or April we'll be able to get a little bit more information on what he's looking to do up at that cemetery. So.
Are you looking to fix gravestones?
Yeah,
up
he's
there?
looking
Is that what you mean?
to, yep, so he's looking to fix the graves up there, but first he wants to pull back the landscape and see what graves are there, because there's some history up on that 301 and Route 9 gravesite, so.
All right.
Thank you. And I know Nancy is unavailable this evening, she let me know, but I'm sure we'll get a nice report from her next month, so. All right, Tara, you're up, we're going on the agenda.
First on the agenda is Climate Smart Coordinator Martha Upton to present the Government Operations Greenhouse Gas Inventory 2022 Summary Report.
Thank you for coming in, as always.
Thanks so much for giving me a chance to share the results of this inventory. To give you a bit of background, our first greenhouse gas inventory was done by Roberto Muller based on 2016 data. Climate smart communities are expected to update their GHG inventories every 5 years, so the new inventory is based on 2021 data. In September, I started working with a cohort of climate smart coordinators from towns around the region under the guidance of the Hudson Valley Regional Council. The HVRC provided trained advisors to work with the cohort and make the inventory a manageable process. The billing data I used was provided by the town's wonderful and helpful staff members, so big thank you to them. The inventory measured emissions in 3 areas: town-owned buildings, the vehicle fleet, and water delivery facilities. The fuel usage bills I looked at were for electricity and fuel oil used by buildings and gasoline and diesel used by the vehicle fleet. In Philipstown, water delivery is responsible for a very small percentage of emissions. Comparing our power sources, electricity produces the lowest emissions by far compared to gasoline, diesel, and fuel oil. This is because the upstate New York grid, which we are connected to, has a relatively high percentage of zero-emission sources, such as hydropower and nuclear energy. I'd like to share some key takeaways from the report and tell you what the next steps are for the task force. In Philipstown, our greatest source of direct emissions is the town's vehicle fleet. Compared to 2016, our vehicle emissions have actually risen slightly. The town owns or leases 27 vehicles. 20 of them run on diesel and are used by the highway department. The remaining 7 are on gas, and they are used, I believe, by the building department, the rec department, and the highway department. These 7 gas-powered vehicles would likely be our first candidates for switching to more fuel-efficient models, such as electric or hybrid vehicles, when they need to be replaced. In terms of government buildings, every facility is unique, but the use of fuel oil for heating is by far the largest source of building emissions. Compared to 2016, our building emissions have declined somewhat due to HVAC upgrades in some of the facilities, but we remain heavily dependent on fuel oil for heating. And last, among the government buildings, the rec center produces the most emissions by far, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about the rec center, which everyone loves and I also love, but the solar panels on the roof go a long way in reducing emissions from electric usage, but solar panels do little to counterbalance the emissions created by burning fuel oil to heat such a large space. So what are the next steps? Starting in March, the Climate Smart Communities cohort I've been working with will pivot from creating inventories to developing climate action plans for town operations. The draft plan would include emissions reduction targets that align with New York State goals and would lay out specific actions for reducing emissions both in the government buildings and in the vehicle fleet. The task force would work with the town board and various department heads to develop a plan that's manageable and feasible. The idea is that when a vehicle or a heating system needs to be retired, We are ready to replace it with an alternative that conserves energy, significantly reduces emissions, and aligns with our long-term goals. And part of the work of creating the Climate Action Plan is researching the grant funding that's available to help defray the costs. The first step in the process is for the town board to pass a resolution in support of the task force working on a draft climate action plan. A resolution is required by the Hudson Valley Regional Council as a prerequisite for a town participating in the cohort. So, if there are no objections, I ask that we place the resolution on the agenda for the March board meeting, and I will send Tara a proposed resolution for your consideration.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I would just like to comment on some of the stuff, and I went through the report, and I don't know if, I know we did just replace the boiler here. It was like, right as you were coming in, we had a brand-new high-efficiency boiler put into this building. But was there a factor for the envelope of the building, the reduction in heating costs for this building? I mean, we probably haven't seen it yet, but at some point, I mean, the windows are all brand new, the place is insulated, it never was insulated.
I think that most of the reductions we have in buildings are a result of this building. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, which we certainly won't see the results yet, is the highway facility also was, you know, like a tin can.
Yeah.
So that should show some major improvements as well.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would hope. And it went to gas. It went from oil-fired to a high-efficiency gas
Right.
heating system. And it's insulated. And we're eliminating the office trailer, so it should be.
Should help.
We should be.
It should help a lot. And I hope to redo this inventory in just a couple of years, because 2021 was not a good year to base it on because of COVID and everything else. So, yeah.
We weren't here, we weren't here, the place was wide open.
Right.
The boiler was running, the old boiler was running.
So
nonstop.
I don't have really solid numbers,
Right. Yeah, it'd be
except
interesting.
about the vehicle fleet. We
Be
do have
interesting.
solid numbers
The
for
vehicle
that.
fleet, and we talked about this last month, about, we just
this.
purchased, I don't know if the technology is there for that size vehicle in electric yet.
No,
But
you know,
hopefully.
It
will.
isn't there yet for everything, and most of the highways vehicles certainly could not be replaced with electric at this time. But there are those 7 vehicles, and I'm not sure exactly what they are, that seem like we could consider them.
The building inspector.
Building inspector.
Yeah.
Some of the wreck, the
Some
smaller
of the
wreck.
Yeah.
vehicles, yeah.
And then there was
Well,
one
I'd
other.
like to bring one other thing. We went down to the rec center, our electric bill is 0 right now, which is great. So maybe, with that being the fact, maybe it's a possibility, we could possibly look at some areas we could put electric heat in down there possibly, you know.
Yeah, and
That
Not
would be
a-
amazing.
You know, just to try it out, see if there's some, look at some, maybe the offices, because they're kind of confined area, change that over to electric, but something to look at.
The heating system there, since I've been on the board, we also replaced, there was 3 boilers in that basement, which were like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And they were there from, I want to say the 50s probably. We did upgrade the 3 boilers, and we went from 3 to 2, and took out the tank, since it must have been like 2015, 2014. So, so they are also brand, which was a major infrastructure project. I don't know, like, maybe we could switch some of it over to electric heat, but that's something we could look
I
at.
think over time, we just need to be thinking about that.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
how to
Well,
move
see,
forward.
I mean, the office space,
Yeah,
which is kind of confined, right, in an area, we could possibly look at that area first to see if we can put electric there. I can't definitely, the gym, forget it, I mean.
So you will give us a model resolution that we can
Yes,
adopt?
I
Okay.
have it. I'll send it to Tara.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it.
Also, too,
thank
John, we're thinking about putting solar on the
The
highway
highway garage will
too.
have solar panels.
Oh,
at
that's
some
point.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
great.
roof, the front roof was designed.
Yeah, it
One-
was designed for it. The
One
whole
side,
thing, I
or
think,
one or the other side, whatever, I think it must be the road side,
it
because
must be, because there's more sun
it
there.
faces the sun, yeah,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, that is proposed there as well, so, but we'll get on it, but thank you,
Sounds
Martha.
good. Thank
We'll
you.
look forward to your resolution.
Martha, can I
Yes,
just want,
sorry.
no, I just want to thank you for doing the government operations inventory, which can sometimes be, you know, some people can say it's dull, and that, you know, seeing it in front of you and the vehicle fleet being 77% of the emissions really stands out, and I think it's smart that you're kind of focusing on those vehicles that aren't like large road graders. And, you know, I know you just received the NYSERDA contract for those 4 additional EV charging stations. and it's gonna free up one of those EV chargers that's gonna get replaced, so maybe that becomes installed somewhere for part of the new municipal fleet. Yeah, yeah, so,
Sounds good.
yeah, yeah.
All right. look
Thank
forward.
you.
Thank you so much. All right, Ted.
Next is a resolution authorizing the return of the planning board escrow for Charles Polhemus 20-40 Manitou Station Road, Garrison, tax map number 8918.4.
Okay, so we have a letter from the Planning Board Secretary, Dear Supervisor Van Tassel, at the January 19, 2023 Town Planning Board meeting. A motion was made by Dennis Gagnon to okay the return of escrow to Mr. Polhemus, and Laura O'Connell second the motion. The motion carried unanimously. I'm requesting that any remaining escrow funds for processing and consultants' fees being held by the town should be released back to the applicant. This is from Cheryl Rocket. So can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is a discussion regarding the implementation of fees for the e-waste brought to the Philipstown Recycling Center.
All right.
As I said, we had a 6-month pilot program that we've been collecting e-waste at no cost to our residents. If anyone went up there right now, the garage we have up there is pretty full. It's quite a bit of e-waste up there. So the 6-month pilot program is over, and so I think at this particular time, we've got to really start charging to recoup some of these fees. All the other municipalities, as I know as of right now, are charging for this. So this is something that I took this fee from another municipality that they're currently charging today, so I kind of just duplicated what they're doing. So these are the fees that I propose.
So to me, this is like a two-edged sword, or double-edged sword, because we just talked about people dumping stuff on the side of the road.
Yeah.
But I think the fees, I mean, if you're a resident of Philipstown and you want to keep the town clean, the fees are very reasonable to get rid of these things. And we're not making any money off this. We have to pay to get rid of it. So, we would prefer to recoup some of it, obviously, and keep people from throwing stuff along the roads. So I certainly would be supportive of this. I did speak with the town clerk about it, and I think the fees should be paid here. You should come here like what you used to do with the old
Well,
landfill.
like we do with the recycling center permits right now, like if for not e-waste, you have to come to the town hall, you have to present your ID. During COVID, we had stopped charging because we didn't want people coming into the town hall, so we were doing it electronically. And you would come in,
and
you
write a
would
check and
say,
get a voucher.
I'm going,
Someone will come in and say,
and
hey,
say, I have a TV, a flat screen TV that I want to take to the recycling center on Saturday, what do I need to do? And I would say, it's $20 for a permit.
You would give
you
a
know,
voucher
and
or
then
something?
give them a permit, just like we do for the recycling center, yeah. And we would just put on there exactly what
Exactly what
item
they're
it
gonna
is that
have.
they're bringing. And that way, we could accept cash or checks, too. It wouldn't be just.
I agree, but the only bad thing about it is just for say, someone says, Tara, I'm gonna go up there with one flat screen TV, and they go up there and they have two. That just.
Well, it'll say right on the permit exactly what you have
Oh, I
to
know.
accept.
So
So Ryan will say,
Ryan will
well,
have to
this
say-
says there's only one, so I can only accept one from you.
Okay, I understand
That's
that,
what
that's
I
what
would
I'll have to do.
The items would be listed on the permit.
Yeah, I didn't really want him collecting money or
Right, it's
anything like
easier
that,
for
but it's
him,
easier.
right, yeah.
So, yeah, that's fine with me. I think like I said, we definitely need to start charging for this. And, people, I haven't seen one of those big gigantic TVs in ages, so I don't see too many of those hopefully going up there. But everything else I think is pretty reasonable.
Jason, anybody, anything?
No.
No,
Good. All right, so we'll have to do we have to do a resolution for this, Steve, to adopt?
You need a resolution for the schedule of fees. This is only open to Philipstown residents, or?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you're gonna want to be very clear about that. I can draft a resolution for you. You can just do a voice vote now if you prefer.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll do it. You can draft something and we'll do it.
Yeah, do you have a workshop you want to adopt that, or do you want to wait till March?
If we're having a workshop, when are we having the next meeting?
The 22nd.
Why don't we try to get it on the 22nd?
All right, we can give it a whirl.
Okay. Can I'd like to get a sign made up with these fees, so it's up there. Well, I don't know if we really need a sign up there, up at the landfill, do we?
just take this up there?
Well, I'm just wondering, because they're gonna pay here.
Right, but if they go up there, they should be told.
I think a good idea.
And it can go on.
Can't
the
hurt to have it up there. I'll get a sign made.
Need more sign.
Okay.
So my only question is, because we haven't passed a resolution yet, and we're not passing a resolution, so can this, if we're gonna pass the resolution on February 22nd, we'll say what, March 1st start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry. Next on the resolution is a discussion regarding Hudson Highland Reserve's request for a reduction in the escrow amount provided to the town.
Okay, so we, would you like to speak? You can go. Go ahead. Why don't you start?
All right. Good evening, Supervisor Van Tassel, members of the board. My name is Richard O'Rourke. I'm with the law firm of Keenan Bean. We've been representing Ulysses Lisiaga, the owner of the property, Hudson Highlands, for the past 5 years, and the application was originally filed back in 2014. Obviously, a request was made to replenish the escrow. Mr. Lisiaga wrote a check, and the deposit now is at $50,000. I'm here tonight to suggest that perhaps it might be appropriate to reduce the amount of the escrow. By December 2019, I think we have, through the escrow account, put in about $250,000. There's now $11,000 left. We're bringing it back up to $50,000. The bulk of the work has been done. I mean, we've gone through the environmental review process. There was an exhaustive analysis for the conservation subdivision. We prepared a draft environmental impact statement. There was a full environmental impact statement and adoption of a finding statement. So we're satisfied the secret component to approvals. So now we're at the, what I would hope is the 8th inning of a 9-inning game insofar as a review. The alternate road standards, obviously, we're hoping that you will set the date for the public hearing. I'm not sure there's going to be any analysis that's going to be done. Ronald Gaynor, on behalf of the planning board, already has opined in terms of his review and forwarded his letter to the town board. And in addition to that, thereafter, we then have to go back to the planning board and we'll proceed with them again. But I'm just respectfully requesting that perhaps, knowing that we would hope that within the next 3 or 4 months, we're not going to be spending a lot of money out of that escrow. And we thought a more reasonable request would be if we kept it at $25,000 or thereabouts. We showed our good faith. We wrote you the check. You got the $50,000, but we're just curious to see if perhaps we could have some relief in that regard.
I appreciate your request, and we did review, we went through the whole process, and I do agree that you're over the hump of the work, without a doubt. Whether it's the 8th inning or 9th inning, I'm not going to predict that, but I do agree that it is too high at this point, and it should be down lower. Steve, would you like to, we have a draft proposal.
Yeah, I prepared a draft resolution. I'm not seeing it in the packet, unfortunately.
I am not either.
But you can do it by voice vote.
I just got it
It's-
last night, so it was, your packets were already
This will be something
sent
else we'll
and
do on the
prepared.
22nd, I guess.
If you want to wait till the 22nd, that's fine. You can do it by
Mine's
voice
Friday.
vote tonight if you want.
Why don't you make the proposal and then,
I, just by way of discussion, agree with everything that's been said. That was set at 50 initially because, well, it was a conservation subdivision. It was a new thing. There was a conservation analysis. Then it turned out they had to go through full secret review on it. There was a zoning change involved. There's now the alternate road stand. But the zoning is passed. You're going to schedule the public hearing on the alternate road standards now. They have to return to the planning board, and there's still work to be done there as far as the conservation subdivision goes. So we discussed 30,000, I believe, was the amount that the board was interested in.
are we in agreement? 30 is fair?
So if someone wants to make a motion to reduce the escrow amount to $30,000, remit any amounts over that back to the applicant at this time, that would be appropriate.
I make that motion to set it for $30,000.
You get a second?
Yep, second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? And I vote
It's a
aye.
roll call vote,
Thank
just so
you.
you know.
Okay.
Roll call?
Yes.
It was just practice, Terry.
Okay, Councilman Angel,
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution scheduling the public hearing for the Hudson Highland Reserve's application for alternate road standards. And you'll notice that I left the resolution blank. because I don't know when you want to schedule it for. My only suggestion would be that if we are going to schedule it for the same night as the regular monthly meeting, to maybe start at 7 instead of 7:30.
Okay. Who's going to speak on behalf of this one?
Obviously, this is an application for an alternate road standard. You know that you're familiar with it. Glenn is here this evening. He can graphically demonstrate where we are in terms of this request, and also provide some reference in terms of other roads in the town of Philipstown. We know that with regard to the fire department, there's no objection from what we understand. And with that, perhaps Glenn can just graphically depict so that you have a sense of what we're looking at. It is my understanding that you have quite a few roads that are well above the 12%, which is what we're requesting. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Glenn. Thank you.
As Rick said, I guess I can take this off.
You're going to fog up if you don't.
I do, I go all the time with this thing. So, as Rick said, and I told him there are plenty of roads over 12% in this town, as you well know, and the school buses are driving on them, and a couple of examples have been made in terms of Moog Road is an alternate standard road. It's about 13% at the beginning, to give you a sense of it for those of you who run of it. We're not quite as steep as that. Some of the comments that have been made have to do with the quality of the road. And what we're proposing is a 24-foot wide paved road with new and adequate drainage. There was a comparison to Jaycox Road, and Jaycox Road is not 24 feet wide by any means. We're paved. I went out today to measure the width of the lane and Route 9. Route 9's lanes are about 11 feet wide, so there's roughly 22 feet. I could be off a little bit because, frankly, there was a little too much traffic to do a real measurement. Yeah. So what we're providing here is the right kind of transition into a grade, and essentially the difference is over 100 feet, 2 more than is allowed, 2 more feet of vertical rise than is allowed. So instead of going up 10 per 100, we're going to go up 12 per 100. That gets us through the excavation that's necessary. When we draw profiles, these scare people, and they should scare people. They're exaggerated 5 times in the vertical so you can see it. The true difference are these lines here. We have, let me see. This is a 19% grade, this top one. So that goes up 19 feet per 100. We're going up 12 per 100. Again, my best point for you is to say that a paved road at 12% really isn't a problem for any kind of car or vehicle to go up. And we're hoping that what that does is that keeps our cut and fill to a minimum. If we get much lower than that, we don't come out of the ground. You know, if you go flat enough into a mountain, you don't get out of the ground until you come to the other side. Right. We don't come out of the ground until we get well into the property and well beyond the problem. So we're seeking that.
Glenn, do you have an idea of the length of road where you're above 12%, above 10%? Is there a dimension?
Get my hands on it. So we start off at Route 9, and we go in we actually go down slightly so road drains, so Route 9 drains into the road. then we start to climb and make a transition, and we go from about station 300 to about station, let's see, 1,400. So there's about 1,100 feet of road at that grade, and the road is not perfectly aligned, but so it's not all that long. It gets us into the property, it gets us through a big hump, and gets us out of the ground when we just at the right spot.
I did have an informal conversation with the fire chief today. He doesn't seem to think that there's any opposition. I would like to see something in writing from the North Highlands Fire District that they're okay with it, and I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, we did talk to them, we did get an email today that there shouldn't be any problem.
And then I know there was a request from the planning board that Haldane produce something that they will have no problem accessing it as well with buses. So
Okay, well, I'll look into that. I haven't personally looked into that.
we do have a letter from the planning board that they are supportive of us exceeding the limit, but that all can be discussed at the public hearing as well. So if we could get a motion, I would assume at this point to schedule a public hearing, and any discussion will.
Ask one
Certainly.
Is the reason there's the need for the alternative road because this is the way that it works to get to Route 9? Isn't that correct? Instead of East Mountain Road, and that's why it's...
Well, I mean, the reason we had to go to Route 9 is because the town found that the environmental impacts associated with either Route 9 or Horton Road were greater than this alternate that we had proposed some time ago. The alternate... East Mountain Road North and Horton Road, excuse me. And the road grade to get us up there, the maximum grade for any road in Philipstown is 10%, unless it's a private road. And private road is 14% under the open development regulations only. We don't qualify that because we're well over the 3-4 lot subdivision. So we do need the 2% to rise ourselves out, come out of the town regulations.
I think it's a real benefit to get to Route 9.
Right,
So,
rather than one of the.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, are these always going to be private roads, or does this eventually become a public road that the town would take over?
There's no intention at this point for it to be a public road. It's a private road.
And I'm assuming that there would be a maintenance agreement associated with the proproperty owners
Well,
association.
there's a homeowners association associated with the property, which includes all of the maintenance of the road.
Yeah. The intention is obviously to get, and we will get approval from the New York State Attorney General for a homeowners association, which of course will have common area charges for all those things, such as the road maintenance.
Thank you.
Is the entire road going to be paved from one end to the other?
I think the main road is going to be paved. There's a couple of shorter side roads which are they're going to be gravel.
All righty. Any other questions from the board at this point? We will schedule a public hearing for this. So if I can get a motion to schedule a public hearing, we pick the date.
For when? You want to do it for the next monthly meeting?
Yeah, why don't we do it?
starting at 7?
Yeah, which would be, what's the date?
March 2nd.
March 2nd, and we'll do it at 7 PM instead of, we'll start at 7.
So the public hearing will start at 7.
7 PM. Is everybody good with that? Yep. Good.
The only thing I would say, John,
Sure.
look, I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. I don't think there's going to be a lot of comment on the alternate road standards application. So let's start the meeting at 7, and the public hearing can be the first thing at the meeting. That way you don't start this at 7, and then at 7:10, you're waiting around to 7:30 to start the meeting.
Sounds good to me. Right, Tara?
Tara, is that okay?
Steve's thinking ahead here. I like
Well,
it.
if it was something else, I might feel differently about it, but I'll be very surprised if there's a lot of comment on the alternate roads.
So then we can go right into our meeting rather than sitting here until 7:30.
That's fine.
Okay, so can I get a motion to schedule our meeting to start at 7 PM? And the first agenda item will be the public hearing. Can I get a motion? So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank
If I
you.
may,
Sure.
I would respectfully request perhaps if Mr. Gaba could be authorized to prepare a resolution that could be considered by the board. We're just looking at our schedule in terms of getting back before the planning board. We've been at it for 7 years, so
Yeah, I have no problem. What I'll do is I'll prepare a draft approval resolution, and I'll circulate it to the board. Obviously, you're not obligated to do anything with it. If the board wants to put it off to the next meeting, if they decide to deny it, they're free to do that. But if you decide that after the public hearing, you want to act on the resolution to approve, it'll be right there, and you can get them done with their town board business at that time.
Anybody else have a problem with that? No, okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Next is a resolution adopting the amended EFA for the Highway Department purchase of a 2022 Ford F-250 XLT crew cab truck in the amount of $57,377 and authorizing the supervisor to execute all documents as may be necessary to carry out the terms and conditions thereof. And this is a roll call vote.
Okay, so this was approved last month, however, there was a typo on the amount. There was a there was a
resolution was
thank you.
incorrect, the
There was
amount
a
of money.
discrepancy on the amount, so we have to do it all over again. So can I get a motion to accept the purchase of the 2022 F-250 in the amount of $57,337?
$377. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Judy's not here. Councilman Angel. Oh, I'm sorry, what happened?
What's the right amount, Tara?
$57,377.
Because the first paragraph says 37, and the second one says 77.
They both say 57,337 on mine.
Mine
Oh, and this
says
one is
57,
57 and
It's-
55.
It's 53,377.
okay. So then,
Just so that we know that, and we'll correct it.
then none of these
As
are
may be
correct.
necessary.
So,
Then none of these are correct, right? 53,000.
$377.
53,377. Okay, so can I get a motion for the purchase of a 2022 F-250 for $53,377? Amending these two amounts here.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell's here. Councilman Angel.
I voted aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
And just to be clear, the evaluation of financing alternatives will reflect that correct amount.
Correct.
So if we need to change it, that's the correct answer.
This was,
Thank you.
your office sent
I
this.
know it, I know it.
And I even sent it to Maureen and had her review it.
Okay.
Next is Daniel Bonsoms to present his plan for a bike race in June of 2023.
Hi, Daniel, how are you? We finally meet. Thank you for coming in.
No, thanks for having me. Well, that discussion about grades and road standards is the perfect segue for this.
Your grades are a little steeper, I think you're looking.
So steep.
Yeah.
I mean, 10% above that, that's a lot. So I'm currently, as a passion project, developing the plan for a potential bike event that could be hosted here in the county of in Putnam County. And it really would be Philipstown, the one that the town that would have the most say, because let me step back a little. So right now there's a resurgence in interest in cycling, and a lot of it has to do with riding bikes on unpaved roads. You know, about 10, 20 years ago, everyone wanted to ride on paved roads. That was when Lance Armstrong was big. And in the United States in general, it became very costly to do so. In Europe, it's very popular, but in the United States, due to police and permitting fees, it just didn't really work out, and it's still not working out. And so what people decided to do was, let's go to places with low population density and not have any police or permitting requirements and have events. And so that started about 20 years ago. And in the recent 5 years, I think the biggest investor is the Walton family from Arkansas, has poured a ton of money into this space. And now there's 1,000 of these unpaved races all across the U.S. And it's become interesting now Europe wants to come in and start organizing these types of events. So really the theme behind these races is that they are American, right? It's all about them being, it has to be tied to the USA and to the culture and history of the USA. A second theme is inclusivity. These races really champion all kinds of, bodies and nationalities and everything like that. Road racing tends to be, very Caucasian, male, all about performance, and these events tend to cater more to all types of people. And then the third theme that is popular amongst these races is, environmentalism and efforts to combat climate change. And so I think this town is kind of has all those three things. And so that's why I started with the mission of the event, to kind of draw along the themes that the market is looking for when they're attending these races. So back in November, there's a man by the name of Eric Cedeno. He came over to West Point to talk about a 2,000-mile bike ride that the 25th Infantry Regiment Bicycle Corps, which was a military regiment that was out in Montana. Happened about 125 years ago. They were conducting experiments on, the viability of the use of the bicycle in warfare. So it was way back then.
Right.
And so it would be kind of, I think, important to tie something like that with the purpose of the event. So I've spoken to West Point. They seem to be interested in supporting this kind of event, depending on kind of the size. They would want to have some kind of restrictions in terms of getting on post and all that. Right. The big issue with West Point is that you do have to, use the Bear Mountain Bridge.
So some of the basic questions that everybody's going to ask is, if you could, I tried interpreting the maps and I was not very successful. So if you could just give me a tentative route, I think would be important. Where would you start? You're starting at West Point.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
I couldn't interpret the map very well, so.
I don't see where it's like start and then finish.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, if you start at West Point, you have to use the Bear Mountain Bridge, which is a complication. I think you mentioned there was another field.
Right, we had the town park, and I was open to that until I heard you say you had 500 riders, so there's no way we could put 500. We have a, Castle to River run, and we get about 120 riders, and we are stacking cars on top of one another, so.
Right.
Would be way outside of our capacity to handle 500 riders, so. And I know you had spoke to, I thought Bear Mountain and West Point, one or the other, I mean, if it were to house, start there and end somewhere of a larger facility, there is no way we could facilitate 500 riders parking here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of, every town has to determine the right size for them.
Right.
Right? The biggest event is out in Kansas where there's pretty much nobody and they have 5,000 people. If you say, hey, we have a lot of density here and, kind of the sweet spot for us is 100 people, then it could be that. I think that if it's going to be smaller like that, that's when you get into kind of looking at the cost benefit of actually like organizing something.
Oh, I understand. That's the business model doesn't work. And that was another question. Are you a for-profit or is this for a non-for-profit?
For me, it would be a passion project. I wouldn't want to. I would want to raise funds for an organization that kind of backs the mission of the event.
Right. No, understood.
I think you spoke also to David. He is a for-profit
right. Are you, because I spoke
organization.
with another gentleman about a road race, and then you're the more of the mountain bike style race, or a hybrid style.
Yeah.
So
This
you're both
would
on
be
the same team, so just so I'm aware.
I think if you're referring to David, he organizes the hybrid type.
Gotcha.
which would use a lot of fan stock.
Fawn stock, right?
Yeah,
right.
fawn stock, and
So the tentative route currently, we don't have a starting point, and we don't really have a laid-out route through Philipstown or Putnam.
yeah, the tentative route starts in West Point, goes through Bear Mountain Bridge, uses a lot of Old Albany Post Road, and goes into the park. So,
Right, I mean, again, if it were 100 riders, I don't think we would have, we've had other events. Tour to Putnam is at least 100 riders, I'm sure. 500 riders on Old Albany Post Road would be a bad scene in our eyes, so.
yeah, I mean, I think that that's where the way that these events work is that in order to make them safer, you make them ridiculously long. Because once you stretch out the field enough, you can have people safely ride on open roads.
Right.
And it's legal for people to ride
Sure.
on open roads.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, if you just say, okay, we're going to have a road closure at the beginning, and you determine that the correct amount is 10 miles, right? And you have, usually what happens with these events, the most popular one in our area is the Grand Fondo, New York, which shuts down the George Washington Bridge.
Right.
And for the first 10 miles, they shut down 9W. And I think they have, I don't know, 5,000 riders do that.
Right, and that goes up to Perkins Memorial Drive, so it's close.
It comes here, yeah. I think it goes to Bear Mountain,
Bear
and then it
Mountain
goes back.
up, right.
Yeah, almost here.
It doesn't get you right.
Yeah, and then you have a lead car, right, with the kind of the competitive, those are the most dangerous people, the people at the front.
Right.
The lead group, they tend to bunch up at the front, and you do have to have kind of a little more, they're going at faster speeds.
Sure.
I think, in the middle and towards the back, people form groups of, call it 10 riders, and they're riding single file. A lot of these events just, remind everyone that you have to follow the rules of the road and that you have to ride in single file. And so really it's in order to make it safe, you have to think about kind of closing a road at the beginning and having everyone start together.
Initial group.
Just real quick, I'm looking at your tentative date of June 17th, 2020, or you already had this? Like what, it says here, the date that you would want to have this bike ride. What is that date?
Correct. That was the originally proposed date, but I think React is going to be away, and so they suggested that we move it to July 29th.
Well,
Okay.
in order for me to issue a parade permit, there's a lot of hurdles you have to, and first would be, police coverage, road closures. I would also request, fire department assistance, EMS. These are all things that I would request that you set in stone, and also the route and parking and number of riders. I'm just speaking personally, I wouldn't support a race or a ride with 500 riders coming through Philipstown. I just think that would be excessive for our roads. And, anybody else speak up, please?
No, I agree with John. I think 500 riders is, have you? No.
As much as I love.
It's a lot. The community, if you ever step foot here on a July afternoon in the summer, you're not going to be able to put 500 bicycles on the road, so I think it's a lot.
I would suggest that you pick a limit of riders, pick a location to start, and if it were more than 100, I don't think any of our facilities could handle it locally, as far as a start and a finish point. And then I would, you certainly need to get the Putnam County Sheriff's. If it's staying away from the villages, I'm assuming you're going up through Old Albany, so you wouldn't have to include the village of Cold Spring or the village of Nelsonville. But if you could formalize a route that we could very easily interpret, and if you could secure, police department, fire, and EMS assistance, or just that they can cover, the number of riders you were providing. Steve, am I missing anything as far as the parade? I think that's what we required on the last one.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good summary as far as what's going to be done. You don't want to lock in some times too, as far as, when this starts and when it finishes. It's about the only other thing I could think of.
My general feeling is it sounds like fun, right? So it sounds like a fun group, but it would have to be safe. So you don't have to make sure that it was safe for people coming through the community. But I mean, I love excuse to get on the bike, but it would have to be, safely planned so people who participate are safe.
All right, so we could send you some more information. We can give you, I know you spoke with the Sheriff's Department. Did you reach out to the Putnam County Sheriff's Department?
Yes, I've met with them, and I guess the tourism office sees this as a tourism initiative, and they've provided feedback in terms of what they would prefer. The main thing they asked is that we don't use 301. They said, I know, and but then someone else was like, well, you should use it a lot. I think there was a failed event that took place in 16, I think 14, 15, and 16. It was a UCI sanctioned race. All the roads were closed, and I think it was funded by the tourism department. And so there's kind of, there's regrets from that event, and so there's kind of concerns about closing roads and trying to do something big. But I've shown it to the sheriff. I mean, I think, these conversations are being had at a lot of towns, right, here in the U.S., since it's growing so much.
I think it would be very ambitious to think that this could be all put together between now and July.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe September, October, you might be able to put something. When there's not, well, we have just as many people, but it's not, you're not coming near the villages. It would not be near the village of Cold Spring or Nelsville. It would stay out of the villages. So
Yeah, that's
that
correct.
would be a big help, I would think, so.
And that's mostly where the unpaved roads are also.
I'm sorry?
The unpaved roads are
Right.
kind of farther away
Absolutely.
from the villages.
Well, what I would suggest, if you want to email us, we can get you the list of the fire departments in the town of Philipstown. If you could iron out a route, this is the route, and this is where we're starting, this is where we're finishing, and get that to us, then we could facilitate a meeting with you and the emergency services to start putting together a plan for, the logistics. Does that work?
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, I think it would be really ambitious to think that this could happen in July, so.
Yeah, I mean, it could even go until next year, right? I mean, it's.
It sounds exciting. I love to bike, so.
Yeah.
But it's got to be, as Jay said, it's got to be a safe event, and the public needs to be supportive of it as well.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because, obviously, USA Cycling and everyone says, invest in the infrastructure to make it safe, and it's tricky to balance that because you can only charge people so much, and ideally you would just close everything down, and have no cars. So it's a difficult thing to balance, and it's also harder when you're dealing with a company that wants to make a profit out of it. Then they're going to say, well. And so, yeah, I mean,
Do you have an LLC or a corporation that's formed that would, be the insurance holder, or?
Yeah, typically what promoters do is that they set up an LLC to kind of, through which all the funds flow.
Okay. All righty, so if you want to, like I said, iron out that stuff and get it to us, and then we could facilitate something with the emergency services for it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think what I've experienced is that, a lot of people are looking to you to kind of give the thumbs up.
Which I would, as long as it's safe, right?
Because when I go to tourism and when I go to sheriff, they're like, oh, is John good? But then you're saying to me, oh, well, are they good?
Well, these are the people that have to make it, and I need something, limiting this, and this is me, this is a board decision, but, limiting the size, because, like it's 500 riders, I don't see. Maybe half of that, and over a stretch, maybe timed intervals for starting, who knows, but, and then a solid route and, start and finish is important, so.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. So there's a club in Westchester that organizes a gravel event. and they have 1,000 people attend, and they don't get any permits. They don't even tell the town, right? Their argument is, it's, you know,
It's a town.
we organize the ride, right? And the roads are public,
Right.
right? I don't think that's the right way to approach it.
No.
I think that it's very dangerous to do it that way, because you're sending people out into open roads without, you're just, I mean, I don't think, they kind of just notify the towns, like, hey, by the way, and that's currently going on here.
Right.
Right? So I think in November, there was a bike shop from Manhattan that organized a big ride.
Right.
Everyone came up here, did the loop, came back. There's cyclists every weekend. So I think the right way to do it is to come to some sort of agreement in terms of, like, what's the safest way to do it, right? Let's do it right.
Big thing would be, where are you putting the parking?
Yeah.
Start and finish.
Yeah.
It's different if it's, a Facebook thing, hey, we're taking a ride to Cold Spring, and we all start in Manhattan. There's not 500 cars getting parked in Philipstown. So that's a big difference. So this is a rural area. You need to come here by car. At least, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, we see people ride here from the city all the time. But if this was going to be an organized race or ride here in Philipstown, with a start in Philipstown, you got to find somebody willing to say, we're going to host 250 cars or 500 cars, which I don't really know too many facilities that could do that. I mean, like I said, we do the run, and it's 150 runners maybe, and we're stacking cars on top of one another. So it's not big enough. But if it were at West Point or at Bear Mountain, and you rode through here, I think that would be something to be a lot different.
Well, if you start at West Point, that's a whole different thing.
So you need to, I think you need to organize that route. This is where we want to start. This is where we want to finish. Then if you want a parade permit from the town of Philipstown, we're going to request that you meet with the emergency services, of course, the police department, to do the logistics of how are we getting across the bridge? What are we doing when we come up 9D? I mean, there's a lot to it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
All righty.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have our email, so you could certainly reach. Right. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is to schedule any workshops or meetings. Right now, we have the workshop scheduled for February 22nd, and that's with the Public Utility Law Project.
Which is going to be a busy workshop from the sounds of things this evening. We have a few resolutions. You'll be here all night, Tara.
Well, and I'm going to add a whole bunch more. So if we're going to be here, we're going to be
Can't
here.
wait.
So, and then we have our regular meeting on March 2nd at 7:30.
Okay. Jason, would you like to just give a brief?
Well, now we're starting at 7. Yes.
Yeah, I think the statement about that February 22nd workshop is that, as most community members know, Central Hudson has had many billing errors, and the state, the Department of Public Service, completed an investigation of those billing errors, and they had some findings, and amongst those findings were that 4,500 people have made individual comments that it was caused by a failed modernization of the billing system, that many people had erroneous bills. There were millions of dollars that had been automatically taken out of account. So I think this workshop is a chance it's a joint workshop of the town of Philipstown, the village of Cold Spring, and the village of Nelsonville, and it's really trying to, give community members who have had billing errors a chance to come forward and put them into the public record, which is important to the state finding. And it's really, I think, an effort by all of the different municipalities to find a way to make sure that customers that have been hurt by those billing errors are their problems are addressed. So it should be a good,
So we will be meeting here with both villages have confirmed that they're coming. Village of Cold Spring, Mayor Foley's here, and Eliza, board trustee. Nelsonville is also confirmed, I believe, that they're coming.
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay, so we'll be here the 22nd. Bring your questions for Central Hudson. Bring your bills. We have, I did reach out to Central Hudson for them to send a representative to defend themselves. I don't think it's fair that they have somebody here. I have not gotten confirmation from them that they will be here, but I offered it out, so. Okay. What's that? Yeah, I'm not going.
Who's rock, paper, scissors?
I'm going to send this giant guy down. Okay.
Next on the agenda is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report, and this is for January 2023. Total fees collected was $15,532. There were 24 total permits issued, 3 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 21 all other permits, 38 certificates of occupancy, and 1 stop work order issued.
My thanks to Greg, also very cooperative individual and does an amazing job. Not a lot of complaints, and which is not easy for a building inspector, basically. So.
Next is any other business that may come
Any
in.
other business that may be the town going on? Any questions? Yes, please. And if you could take your mask down so we could hear what you're saying. I'm hard of hearing and it's hard.
So I'm Allison Anthony. Nice to meet you all, those that I don't know. And I'm here to talk about the Military Tribute Banner Program to place banners honoring veterans along the roads in Philipstown. I'm presenting you with a petition signed by roughly 100 Philipstown residents to request that you limit the time that the banners are displayed. I understand that the current plan is to put the banners up in May in time for Memorial Day and to take them down shortly after Veterans Day, a period of roughly 6 months. But I've also noted that during her presentation on July 7, Cindy Trimble suggested that the banners could be up year-round. We who signed the petition share the deep appreciation for the service of our veterans that the banners represent, but are concerned that they could lose their impact as an exceptional display of celebration and honor if left up for several months. Over time, their impact will become increasingly diluted, and they risk becoming overlooked, routine, ordinary, part of the scenery. It's also worth pointing out that the manufacturer only guarantees these banners for 3 months. And there's a good likelihood of visible wear and tear over 6 months, particularly over the summer months, where there'll be a lot of weather-beaten, sun, fading, everything else. So our petition, which is drastically less, I understand that, suggests that the banners be displayed for only 2 weeks around Veterans Day. Now, I gather that no resolution is necessary from the board and that permits are being obtained from the county and from the Department of Transportation. But there must, however, be some basis for you to have jurisdiction over how long these banners will be displayed. And given the various considerations here, I hope you would consider that and limit the display period for the banners.
Well, and as I responded to you
Yeah.
by email, I've had multiple meetings with Ms. Trimble in reference to this. We have had 2 public meetings here about this. You're right. At one point, she had said we could leave them up indefinitely. A lot of the towns on the other side of the county that use the same banners have had some of them last 2 years in place. So, and I'm not going to get into, what's going to fade, what's not our. She has agreed to me that they'll go up the weekend or around Veterans Day and come down, around Memorial Day and come down around Veterans Day. The work to install them, put them up and take them down, is being volunteered by the Putnam County Highway Department. So we have no control over when the Putnam County Highway Department is going to put them up or remove them. We also have no control over the length of time that they're on. They're going on state roads and county roads. So, and Steve, if you'd like to,
No, you're spot on, John, as far as that goes. The only thing the town could do, if the board was so inclined, would be to write a letter to the county requesting that the time that the banners are up be limited. I don't know if the board's inclined to do that or not, but in terms of actual power to do something, public utility poles on county roadways, you have no jurisdiction.
Or
over.
a state road.
Or state, even more so, yeah. No jurisdiction.
So that was my answer that I gave you on email. And I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate the work that went into the petition. But we have really vetted this topic for a long time here. And For me, I'm not inclined, I'm going to go with Cindy's word that they're going to come up and go down. I also requested that because there's some concern that, it's too expensive, I can get these for 40. We've heard every different argument about these banners and like I said, we don't have a horse in this race. We have no control. I'm in favor of them staying up for that period. For me, it wouldn't be a problem if they stayed up for a year. But that's my opinion. There may be other opinions out there, but we don't have any control over when they go up. We can certainly, and Cindy has said to me, we're going to put them up around Memorial Day and we'll take them down around Veterans Day. And again, I think it's based on the availability of the Putnam County Highway crew. So
I just don't understand how something that could become, something ugly in the village, if these
well, that's
become,
a matter of opinion. That's a matter.
No,
of
no,
opinion.
no, I'm not talking about I'm talking about if they get worn down.
Right.
If there's danger, if they're falling down, if they've faded, if they've shredded. I'm not talking about them as the banners.
She did tell us that they stayed up in other towns for 2 years. Now, I ride, I'm all over this area, and you can see them. If you ride through Hopewell or Beacon, they're up endlessly. They're up endlessly. So, and listen, everybody has a right to opinion, but to say that it's ugly is
I'm not saying that
I got
they're.
you. So when you're just saying when they deteriorate.
When they deteriorate.
Right,
Torn
right.
or something like that.
And honestly, if it were my family's and it was deteriorating,
I'd want
I
it
would
down.
request that it be removed. But I don't think in that 6 months, I mean, we could have a hellacious storm or who knows what could happen. But I don't think over that 6-month period, you're going to have an embarrassing looking picture. And I bet you, knowing the group that's involved, that they will go out and either remove it or replace it. So that's my feeling.
Oh, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I want to express my own personal opinion, separate from the board. And, I think an effort to go out and collect signatures and go out and talk to people, I mean, I think we all value that. I value that. Going out and putting that perspective and having 100 people sign that is important. And so I think it deserves a personal opinion. My opinion is, when we've discussed those military banners in public comment period, and I supported them, I think like everybody else on the board, as a way to honor veterans that served, as you stated in your petition. But I don't remember having a conversation about the length of time that they would stay up, but I may be wrong. But, I'm in agreement that, my own personal opinion would be that Memorial Day to July 4th, something like that, makes sense as a way to, make sure that they don't blend into the background, as a way to make sure that as we're doing other events locally to honor veterans, that those are up. But and I would be, I would be in favor, if other board members are, of, sending a letter to the county, but that's really only if other board members feel that way. But, if they are on state roads and if the county highway department is the one putting them up, it may not be under our jurisdiction, but I'm free to share that opinion in other places. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
I'd just like to say, I think having them all year does diminish it a little bit, Okay, so I think setting a time frame, like whatever it happens to be, Memorial Day to Veterans Day, would be a good thing. But to have them up every single day of the year, I think it does, like you said, it kind of diminishes what they're there for, in my opinion. So,
And I'll just propose this. If we are in favor of limiting it from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, obviously it's subjective to the county highway department. We can draft a letter saying this is the time frame. And this is the time frame she has proposed. And to me, I think it's a reasonable amount of time. It's the warmer months. You're going into the end of November or middle of November. And again, it's the availability of the crew that's donating the time to put them up and take them down. So, and I have no problem with saying this is the limit. Memorial Day, or somewhere in that range, Memorial Day to Veterans Day, I'm happy with and comfortable with. I don't think for the investment, and again, this might be my the investment that the families are making for $200 or $250 to keep them up for a week or 2 weeks, I don't think it's fair.
I mean, we're getting like 5, my family, so.
And they,
they're
you know,
gonna
the
be staying up a
brackets
lot
are,
longer
the
than
brackets are something that are being bolted to the pole, so it's not like, you know, it's gonna be hanging on a string or something, and it's gonna, you know, for 1 week and then bring it down. It involves work. I mean, there's work to put these brackets up, and there's work to taking them down.
I just have, think of the flags at St. Mary's Lawn that come up for Memorial Day. Every year, it's a beautiful thing. It comes up, and it's there. It's impactful. The impact is really strong. They're there for a really relatively short period of time,
Right.
and then they're gone. And then we see them again next year, and it has that impact, which fades over time. That's one of the reasons we're concerned.
Are we, as a board, in favor of limiting it? Well, again, it's just a suggestion that you do it from in the area of Memorial Day to the area of Veterans Day, and then they would come down. I mean, we can write a letter suggesting it. I'm not in favor, I'm sorry, Jason, of Memorial Day to July 4th. I think that's too short of a time period if you're investing that money, but.
I would still, I mean, again, I would be for a shorter period, and I've driven through many towns are doing this now, and I've seen banners that look crisp and new, and I've noticed them, and I thought that's an honorable way to honor veteran service, and I've seen them that look deteriorated, and the deteriorated look doesn't look that way, so, I mean, but that's my opinion.
You know, here's the other thing. This year will be an experiment, and I'm sure next year they're going to want to do it. And if next year it comes out, look, by July 4th they were torn to shreds, which I highly doubt. Then we'll suggest that they come down sooner. But I think the importance of the 2 holidays surrounding service is important, and I think that's why they were selected. So.
I mean, I know some of the players at the Putnam County Highway Department, and they'll be able to get, they're into this as well. So I think that from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, around that time, I agree with John. I would have them up all year round, but that's just me. So
we can, if we're in agreement, we can draft something to say.
Try to limit the time.
Is for Memorial Day through Veterans Day, why would you send anything? I mean,
Well, I think it's important that we make a statement that that's the time frame we're favoring, so. All right, good? Yeah, we're here for pub. We don't want to repeat what was just said, but, okay, come on up. Yeah, thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm making a slightly different objection, which I've already, I get that I've already
Got it.
lost.
Yep.
I still want to say it since I've spent my evening here. So I would just urge, and again, I understand that you're probably not going to do this, but my objection is slightly different. My feeling, and I come from a family of veterans. My father and my brother are both veterans. I've talked about it with them. I mean, my objection is that I feel that having the banners up for longer than a couple of months creates an aura of militarism in our society that I find unwelcome in a civil society, and so do they. They think it's really appropriate to honor vets, but I think having banners up with people in military uniform in our environment creates an impression of militarism that I find objectionable, and I think a lot of other people would do too. So I don't think I'm the only person that thinks this way. So I've said my piece. I wrote you guys a letter, and I asked that we open it to the public to discuss further, because this is going to be a pretty major development in our town. So I feel like it would be really helpful if you could. I know you feel that you've already heard from everybody who wants to say something, but I'm not sure that's true.
We did have a full public workshop, and we did have a section and in the public workshop, I knew there was going to be some discussion about this. That was not a televised meeting. It was not minutes taken. It was just a workshop when she presented. That's why I suggested that she come back to the public meeting, which was televised, which she did. I also advised her to go to both villages. We invited both villages to the original meeting. The Village of Cold Spring had a board meeting that night and did not attend. There was attendees here from the Village of Nelsonville. So, I mean, I don't know what would be enough. I don't know what is enough. And at some point, And I know there was a lot of requests to get this on the agenda tonight, and I wasn't doing it because I said, if next month, three more people come in and say, you know what, this should go back on the agenda. So this is what public discussion is for, and we're having it, so.
Understood. There were a lot more people at the Cold Spring Village meeting and the Nelsonville Village meeting, so I don't know how this kind of went under the radar in front of the town, but those are my 2 cents.
Richard and Bill said that this is like a buffet. You can get all you want.
No, I understand.
Just keep going.
I know.
and
I
get
just
all you
wanted
want.
to say my piece.
Thank you, appreciate
You
it.
wanted to, Steve, did you, Steve,
However.
did you want to say?
Yes, I did. Yes, I do. Excuse me. As a veteran, who's also going to have a flag up there, one of those honored flags, I think the time frame from Memorial Day to Veterans Day is a good time frame. I don't think it being year-round would be good for other reasons. But to honor our veterans, it's a good thing. When I was growing up here, on Memorial Day, on 4th of July, on Veterans Day, from the river to the red light, there was an American flag every 50 feet. We haven't even put one up. It's a shame that we don't honor our veterans as much as we should. And as far as I'm concerned, I think this is very good for the community. And there's an awful lot of very good veterans here. We've had veterans here that have served in 3 wars. We had a veteran here, Al Ireland, the sign out front of this building, who had 4 Purple Hearts.
I hope he's getting a banner.
Well, if somebody does, last night at the VFW meeting, we approved 2 banners, one for George Casey, one for VFW founder.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm sorry, I drew a blank.
Harvey, it's Harvey.
Right.
Right.
So, and we're going to do that as a tribute to them. So
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
that's all I have to say on that subject.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Liza?
I'm Eliza Starbuck.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for all the work you guys are doing and for continuing to listen to the public comment on this subject. I've really enjoyed actually hearing all the different points of view on this subject, and tonight I only speak as myself as a resident, not as a representative of Village of Cold
Understood.
Spring or of anybody else. I'm sorry that I missed the first workshop. It flew under my radar, probably my fault. The second time it was in the town board, it was not listed in the agenda, so I missed that as well, but it was nice to see it on the video. And I'm sorry, forgive me for not coming forward with my comments sooner. I was actually expecting the topic to come up once more as a town board agenda item, just to discuss this topic of how long the banners would go up, and it did not. I will say I supported you when Philipstown adopted a policy for flags which limited them to the current nationally recognized flags. I had hoped that in setting up that policy, in good logic, your board would apply the same prudent thinking to the topic of military banners and hanging on telephone poles over our public roadways. And yes, technically Central Hudson owns the telephone poles on which the banners will hang, but unlike roadside billboards on private property, which we have no control over or laws, if I understand it correctly, Central Hudson reserves the power of signing off on this kind of request to a town supervisor or the village mayors, if you so choose to
Just to clarify,
exercise
if
that
it were
privilege.
going on town roads, I would have to sign it, but there is nothing going on any of the town roads. These are on
It's all
state
state.
and county roads.
Okay,
So I am out of the
understood.
puzzle.
Got it. But, you know, a letter to the county would be a good option. And I think that, you know, we town residents think of you guys as the gatekeepers of our town, and expect that you would not want to waive the right to have some control over the approval process and length of time that a display of such banners, or any banners really, would go on roadways throughout our community. As I did in the flag policy debate, I will remind you that Philipstown's residents are not psychologically homogenous, even if so many of us look alike. And it should be known first and foremost that in all the discussions I have heard among Philipstown residents on this topic, there have been no disagreements voiced regarding the position that veterans and military service people deserve our support, our respect, and our gratitude. So that is not at all up for debate, I don't think, by anybody in this town. On that point, really everyone agrees. However, I have also heard no major agreements on the best method for which to do so, to honor our veterans. And I will again remind you that, as with flags, flying a banner in a public space that represents a private group or a point of view or a sector of the population automatically leaves out the representation of a multitude of others. So I think there are many different walks of life that include tragedy, sacrifice, and heroics that deserve a place to tell their story and be honored. And, you know, whether on telephone poles is that place, I think is debatable, but
Or a matter of opinion.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Totally a matter of opinion.
Right.
And I think that individuals who feel hanging military banners for public display is a meaningful way to honor their family members' service have every right to purchase their private banners and fly them on their front porches or in their yards. But I don't know that it's the most appropriate thing for private individuals to pick and choose who should be honored on telephone poles along our roadways. I also feel it's inappropriate for the town to support a private business such as Philipstown Hometown Heroes Military Tribute Banners, who inaccurately promoted themselves in public meetings as a not-for-profit entity while selling and promoting the sale of products under the legal designation of a sole proprietor business. And while we have no other reason really to doubt Ms. Trimble, the owner of the business, who has promised to donate all the profits to a local American Legion, without a legal not-for-profit status or even some form of a legal contract with the town where it's going, technically she will not be held accountable by any agency to do so. It will be really at her discretion to decide how excess funds are used or not used to support this project. I think given that most of the board has already publicly given your blessings by way of expressing your personal enthusiasm and unquestioning support for this proposal, I would ask that you put on the agenda anyway a public board discussion deciding the length of time and allow for public comment on deciding before you just default to what she has proposed. And I think that if Ms. Trimble was able to get the Putnam County Highway Department to volunteer to put them up and take them down on certain dates of the year, I think certainly she could probably arrange any dates that the town board or that the community requested. I think that's the least she could do. So the precedent that is made by having a private entity present a proposal for banners over roadways without any approval process is not one that legally I think our town should establish or go forward with in the future. I mean, this is not the only type of banner that somebody could come to you for, and I would hope that there's a little bit of a process and you guys have a little bit more say on this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. We've been through the process. We understand the process, where it is and where it isn't. So thank you. Next, anything else? Anything else from the public?
Can I just ask a question to either the mayor or the trustee or Bob, to you as a liaison? This issue went in front of the villages, the village of Cold Spring, village of Nelsonville. Just an update on what that decision was by the villages on the issue? Because I just don't, I don't know. So I'm curious as to.
The village of Nelsonville, via email, and if they want to make another statement, via email, they have said to me they are not participating. And it was based on space on the pole of how much space they had and how much space they don't have. So, and I said, but it's up to you guys to decide. So.
May I address the question that was asked?
Mayor Foley, thank you.
Kathleen Foley, I'm the mayor in Cold Spring. We have no application before us. So Ms. Trimble came in on December 7th, and she made a presentation. She brought samples, talked through all of the logistics that you've talked through in terms of timing, possibilities, who might do the work. We also had questions asked about revenue, et cetera. In the village, we have a different code than the town has, obviously. In the village, signs are issued at the discretion of the mayor under our Chapter 106. I default as mayor. This is my decision as mayor. I default to due process. If an application, Ms. Trimble has been told that if she would like to put an application forward in the village, she's welcome to. The building permit, just like you do parade permits for bike races, right? Our mechanism is the building permit. So she could put in a building permit, and I would ask the code enforcement officer to look at the application and determine whether it meets our zoning requirements for size and placement, and whether it meets our Chapter 64 Historic District requirements for material changes in the village. We don't consider 6 months temporary under our code. Temporary is a much shorter window. It's 30 days. So we simply have different structures and process that we have to follow.
Your street's not, the difference here.
Nothing's going on our streets, John.
No,
Nothing's been asked to go on our
no,
streets.
I'm saying the difference is we are not going through this process because they're not going on town roads.
I'm responding to the council member who asked what is before the village and what is the process.
Right.
And that is the process. We have met. We had open public comment, but no application has come forward. So if an application does come forward, that is the process that would happen, but none has.
Thank you. Thank you. And John, to your point, or
Clarify something in the public record, if I may, Supervisor.
What's that?
May I clarify something for the public record? We bought all new flags last year. We spent $2,000 on new flags, and they flew from Veterans Day to, from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, from the river to the light. So that tradition is upheld. I want you to make sure you know that.
Great job.
So just to clarify, so to Supervisor Van Tassel's point, the proposal, if it had gone in front of the village, would have been on village property, but the proposal here to the town is not on town property. So it doesn't fall under a permitting process or decision-making process. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
The village doesn't own the poles. Central Hudson owns the poles, but they are on village streets where we have different local code.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from the public? No. Okay.
We'll do another workshop.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
I already said, hey, but we won't do it this month, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, approval of vouchers. You have any?
And we just have the one vacancy on the planning board, which has been advertised. It'll be advertised again for the next 2 weeks. It's
Right.
on our website, so if anybody's interested in being on the Philipstown Planning Board.
Planning boards.
I nominate you.
We had.
You did.
We've had people say they're interested, but we've yet to receive a resume. That's correct. I've had several emails, what do I need to do? And I say, send a resume to the supervisor, to the town clerk, and as of, we have nothing yet. We have several people, poke interest, but.
Spread the word.
Yep, nothing, so. It's a great spot. It's a lot of fun, a lot of meetings. Yeah. Okay, approval amount of, I can't talk anymore, of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District.
So, sorry.
Motion. Second.
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 moved.
Can I get a
Second,
All in
second.
favor? And I vote aye. Thank you, folks.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, can you do the water district one more time? Who first did that?
Who made the motion for the Continental Village Water District? Megan
I said
did,
so moved, but I got caught up in my.
and Jason seconded it.
Thank you,
Yes.
sorry.
Thank you.
Now you can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.